All right, behind the scenes Reunion Radio, Big Bink. Man, we got just stay here because we got a legend in the building. You gotta check this out. All right, this is Reunion Radio right here on 97.9 The Beat. Big Bink. That's my boy TDK up in the building.
TDK, what's up, TDJs?
She called him TDJ.
He kind of looking like TDJs.
TDKs, what's up?
Let me tell you something, man. Shawnee has been bugging me about our guest today, getting her on Reunion Radio. I don't know how you did it. She just popped up in Dallas. I mean, she ain't on the phone. She's sitting right across from us. So, Shawnee, I'm going to let you do the honors.
Yeah, this my homegirl.
Man!
We go all the way back. We go all the way back to Snoop Dogg.
Come on.
Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is in the DFW, y'all.
Give it up one time for Cheyenne.
Yes.
Cheyenne Bryant.
She has brought some life, love, and she's helping us fix ourselves. But she in the DFW, dude, because she just got another doctorate degree from Harvest Christian University.
You better give it up one time.
Right
Already.
here in the DFW. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, we got Cheyenne Bryant. Are
That's
you
what
kidding
I'm
me?
talking
Doc, I'm
about.
sorry. Let me put the doctor on it because I know sometimes you put the doctor
Yeah,
on
put the
everything.
doctor, put some respect on her name.
Yeah, there you go.
But I remember you from Instagram. Back in the gap when you were just starting, right?
Yeah.
Being funny and cute and all that old stuff. And so
I
now,
don't know if I was cute. I was probably definitely funny.
you was cute. Still cute. One.
Being
Give it up for her
cute,
being
yeah,
cute.
yeah, give it up for being
Man. But I mean, going from that to where you at now, just talk about that journey.
Oh, it's been amazing. So, I started off as a marriage, family, and child therapist about 16 years ago, and I did that for a while with court order DCF, families and children. And so doing that from the inner city and then branching off to getting my first academic doctorate in counseling psychology. I went into private practice, I wrote my book, and then started my speaking tour. And from just being in practice, and I say this all humility, but being extremely effective in my hybrid modality, which is therapy and coaching married together, people who were, just our inner city folks, our non-celebrity folks, and then a lot of A-list celebrity folks started to come to me and seeing that my tools and my expertise were so effective that it on its own, took on its own momentum and became something that then started becoming viral, and I just took off like wildfires. When you're in alignment with God and you're doing His purpose, all you have to do is show up in who you are. When you show up in who you are, He opens doors, create doors, or closes doors, but whatever it is, He puts you in spaces and rooms that allow you to be an expert in the field that you're in and with His people. And so that's what makes it beautiful. And so now at this juncture, I got a double book deal with one of the biggest publishing companies in the world, not one, but Random House. And shout out to 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson for being amazing to.
Oh, it's a clap. When
yeah.
you know, in post something, I'm going to put all the clap behind it. Absolutely. Random House. I'm so mesmerized, I forgot to clap. I'm listening. I'm locked.
Was able to be in rooms and meetings to show my expertise and have people really love and see how effective I am when it comes to the whole publishing deal and my double book deal. That's something that's awesome. My first book, Mental Detox, which I self-published, was the bestseller and the reader's favorite 5-star in the entire world. And Random House took that book and in my new book, The Divine Wilderness, and said, we want it all. And so again, when you are standing on your square and you're in your purpose, your job is to be in faith. Faith is an action word, and God's job is to continue the plans that He says. I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper, give you a good life. He has the plans. You are the blueprint. The blueprint is being who you are. You are equipped with everything you need. So being outside of that actually detours you from the plans He has for you, and His thoughts not being your thoughts, His ways not being your ways. You have to understand that it doesn't look how you want it to look like, but the destination would be more mind-blowing than you could have ever imagined. So I always say, again, I am exactly in the place that I've always wanted to be in. I am in my career exactly doing what I want to do. And so it doesn't get boring. It doesn't get exhausting. It continues to become liberating. It continues to expand me. Every time I'm able to create healing in somebody or create an evolution in somebody, I equally get to keep what moves through me. So whatever God moves through you, He gives to you, good or bad. So we got to be very aware of what that is. And so I'm in a field where I'm able to move through healing and move through compassion and grace and all those God-giving things, and see people have breakthroughs and hear them thank me when it's really them doing the work. So they need to be thanking themselves.
But you said two words that really stuck out. You said healing and evolution. Like, that just don't pop up in your head. That's the journey itself. Like, where did all this come from? Was it something origin with your family, or were you the only child? Like, how did you get on this journey? Because ain't nobody just sitting up writing all these books and doing all this stuff, going to school, getting all these doctrines. Where did it come from?
Yeah, you know what? The Bible says it's good for me that I was afflicted, right? And so affliction is meant to create a certain drive and character in you that says, I don't know where I'm going, but I know I want to get the hell up out of here.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you put on these track shoes. And at 42, people see, high heels, but I still got my track shoes on. And when I tied them up, that moment as a child, I just made a commitment to myself and to God that one, I will insert the level of healing and blessing that he's given me into every single person I come in contact with, and that I will stay the course. And when I have questions or I feel like I want to get weary, then I'll tap into him, and that's into him being the source. But in addition to that, I come from a family, I was blessed with 4 parents, my biological parents and who had me as teenagers, and so my grandparents stepped in and raised me. But I had parents who always let me know that my trauma wasn't too heavy, that my pain wasn't too deep, and that I was never too much when it came to whatever I was trying to process or go through. And so when you have parents who build, we talked about this earlier, about how you were telling me you speak life into your kids, you speak life into your daughter and tell her how amazing she is. And pretty much what I heard you say was, you the Kobe Bryant out here, baby. And
that's right.
Yeah, she should know that. And when you have parents who teach you not that you are better than others, but that you are absolutely perfect and amazing in the vessel that you are made in, and that you're not too heavy, too much, too small, or too big, then that becomes the anchor and the nucleus of your verticalness. And that right there creates people who become vertical in who they are. And when you have what I call God's peace, and you have a healing that takes place that allows you to really have solitude within yourself, there is something that comes over you called a covering. And it is a space that is so good that you feel like, for me at least, I have to give this to everybody. I can't be the only one who's privy to this place of healing, this place of peace. And so when I got to that crossroad, I told God, like, wow, again, you blessed me exceedingly and abundantly above all I can ask or think. And my commitment is to make sure that I give that to everyone. And give me a platform as big as you want to give it to me, because I'm going to use that to stand on that to make sure people get that. And that's what's been happening. And so it's beautiful to see God move through me and see people receive God as, the vessel that I am to him. And folks having breakthrough after breakthrough and healing after healing, and knowing that you can be from the inner city and you don't have to be a product of that environment. You can become the product that you want to become, and you don't have to know where you're going. You just have to know that you're getting the hell out of where you don't want to be. And God will, the leap, the jump is what's taken for God to put you in places where you're meant to be. And a lot of people stay stuck in familiarity because that's what they know. And a lot of folks are afraid of who they really are and how big they really are. And I think being in a place of not being afraid of your bigness comes from good parenting and a good village that says, listen, you have the permission and you have the bandwidth to be as big as you need to be. And this tank that we built for you is not a tank that we built to limit you. It's a tank that we built to facilitate you at the space you're at. And we all as a village will continue to dismantle and rebuild if we need to facilitate your bigness. And that's what's important.
All right, well, I always get in trouble on the show for being the messy one, as they say. So, how did you transform Cam Newton? Like, was there a transformation after you and Cam had this conversation? And have you followed up with him to see, has he made any changes? Is he moving forward, or is he still trying to populate the whole world?
So, I've heard Cam say on air a couple months after our interview, pretty much he reiterated what I said on our interview, that he's in a place, and I don't know exactly how he said it, y'all, so don't quote my words, but the message we heard was, having all these kids, I'm not able to provide for them, as I was at one time, and it is challenging. And so he pretty much re-spoke what I already said, which is there's no way that one person can be a full on-duty father when you have multiple kids who are in multiple houses. Only the kids who are in your home really get the full father when you're in that home. But if you leave that home to go spend holidays with the other kids, then guess what? Those kids in that nucleus home also are in a deficit during that time you are elsewhere. And so it doesn't mean that, Cam is doomed in the sense of the decisions he's made. It just means he has to make the best out of what he did, but he also has to not glorify or glamorize what he's done, which is what he did in our interview. Because if you really love your kids and you're really a father who is not in a narcissistic mindset, then you want your kids to know, yes, this is how I did it. I'm making the best out of what I did, but this is not the way to do it. This is not the healthy way to do it. Everyone ends up in a deficit. And so for parents who have already created the broken family, the broken house, doesn't mean you're doomed. We don't need you to be in shame or guilt, because that doesn't do yourself or the kids any justice or any service. But we do need you to have conversations that are real and honest with your kids, that say, look, this is what I did, but I'm not going to glamorize it just so that I feel loved or liked by you. That is narcissistic, and that is creating a deficit in your kids at the expense of your ego. And so it's like, don't stroke your ego. Let me say that, don't stroke your ego at the deficit of creating a deficit in your kids. And so that is just, so I don't know if he has made any proactive, different action-based decisions, but I know that I've heard him make comments just through clips on Instagram of him coming into awareness of what I already said, in our interview months ago. And, and it's okay, because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And obviously he was ready, because I appeared to be able to be a vessel for God and teach him and give him those awarenesses. And he doesn't have to admit on air, like, look, I got it, I agree. That's not what doing the work is on behalf of me. My job, my purpose is to plant the seeds, and whenever they tend to germinate or harvest in that person is when it's right for them to receive it. And so I just want to put out there that he doesn't have to receive it when I gave it, but I know that he received the seeds that I planted, and God will water them, and at the due time the harvest in him will happen.
So did Nick Cannon receive it?
He did. Nick Cannon not only received it during our sessions, but also he has reiterated over and over again that, listen, you know what, in his words, he's like, I am narcissistic. And so Nick came on camera and said, yeah, I'm narcissistic, but he says he's been diagnosed as narcissistic, when I already told him you have narcissistic traits. It's clear. And he also says that, listen, those are things that I'm working on. And to Nick's defense, he is a really great father. Like, this is a man who will run from set to pick up kids from school, a man who's always trying to, overcompensate in any way that he can. But he does understand and see the deficit in that. He does understand and see his narcissistic traits. And I do believe that he's working at it and on it to make sure that, he has a balance, and so that his kids aren't learning narcissistic traits, because learned behavior is real. So a lot of times people will learn what depression looks like on their parents, and they grow up to clothe themselves with depressive mindsets and behaviors when they're not depressed all along. They learned how to be that. They learned how to be anxious. They learned how to be narcissistic and have this the world revolves around me. But as they begin to gain a sense of self and learn who they are, they say, wait a minute, those aren't my ways. I'm not a narcissistic person. I learned those behaviors, right? And so there's a difference between behaviors and symptoms, and people can have symptoms of depression or symptoms of narcissism and not be diagnosed. And folks can have clothed themselves in the learned behavior of how to be that, and then go into their own healing journey and say, wait a minute, as I strip myself of those things that I learned that are not me, I'm learning that I'm not that person. And so, with Cam and Nick, both narcissists, Cam more on the extreme and Nick more on the, not so extreme, but it's definitely more, how can I say, it's more introverted with Nick. So he does it very subconsciously, and it's through his decision making. He doesn't always verbalize it as, I'm that guy. It doesn't always come off verbally as that arrogance that narcissism carries, but it's there innately. Versus Cam, it's internally and externally. He shows up in it by his actions and behaviors, but he also verbalizes it, and he carries it in his energy and in who he is. So I hope that both may get the help that they want. My goal was never to emasculate or embarrass them. My goal was to bring the awareness and say, listen, because of your decision, you have a whole village of people, not just the kids, but women who are, in this, they're being victimized by it. They're not victims, but they're being victimized in it. And gotta say this, because people always, ask, well, Doc, what about the women? Aren't they accountable? Hell yeah, they're accountable for what they're choosing. If a woman chooses a man who's narcissistic or a man who's a womanizer, then yes, you are definitely 100% accountable for choosing that.
I just needed to hear that.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew you waited for that.
I was waiting to see. I can't even stand still.
You were 100%,
Thank you, Doc.
100% accountable, ladies, for choosing a man who his results have produced that of a broken family. His results have produced that of womanizing ways, or a man who cheats. And so if you're choosing that, you're accountable for that. And you're setting yourself up to be a product of his results. You're not a product of his promises. So y'all need to start falling in love with a man's results and not his promises.
Okay, so I got one more question that's real messy. And this is a friend to the show. Shout out to Nick. That's a friend to the show. We love you, Nick. We love you, Cam. But you got Neil on your list. You sitting on the couch with him anytime soon?
I'm
just asking for a friend.
And tell your friend that I would love to be able to have a one-on-one private or even, live session with Neil. I don't think Neil needs a session to come out of his choice to be polyamorous. I think it's more about him having and gaining a sense of self, because it took him, time to dismantle women. He had his first wife, literally go, allegedly, from what I was told, and get her tubes tied. You had this woman not only dismantle her body, but you dismantled her heart by infidelity and cheating alongside the second wife, just for you to figure out that you wanted what you were doing to begin with, because a man who is cheating is already choosing a polyamorous lifestyle. So all you did was now put a title to what you've been doing, so that you can make it look like it's okay your behavior is okay. It's not okay to dismantle and break hearts in the midst of trying to figure out who you are. It is okay to go on a journey of finding self and say, listen, I want out of this marriage because I do want polyamorous. And so before I dismantle you, before I ask you to make certain decisions that have to do with the care or the health of your body, I'm going to go ahead and check out. Then that's a man you can honor, because he said, listen, I'm going to honor my commitments to you first, and then I'm going to check out of this and go live the life that I deem more conducive for me. But in the midst of knowing that you are continuously, creating infidelity, you are continuously asking for these women to do things that are not in alignment with polyamorous, they're in alignment with commitment to a monogamous relationship, you're out of pocket. And so it'd be more about, how he processes those emotions. Is there awareness that he did that? Is he just choosing polyamorous as a way to deflect and avoidant behavior, so he can avoid the decisions he's already made in the past that have dismantled, and not just these women, but his family, and he got kids that also have to be a witness to this behavior. And so how do you have this conversation with these children that are going to grow up one day and want to know what happened, or they're going to want to know which lifestyle was more healthy, or how do I process through or navigate through polyamorous, infidelity, or cheating, when they're all the same damn thing. A womanizer is a womanizer. A dog is a dog. It barks. It don't matter if it's in a small park or a big park. It don't matter if it's in here at home. A dog gonna do one thing. If it don't do nothing, it's gonna bark. And so, that's just more of what I would like to process. I don't think that he's wrong for choosing the lifestyle he wants. I think we all have the power of choice and free will to choose a lifestyle that we deem conducive for us. I actually honor him for choosing now to say openly, I want polyamorous, so that everybody has an understanding of what they're involved in, and they also know, these are the rules of engagement. Like he said on one of the interviews that his women are not allowed to see or be with other men. I don't think nothing's wrong with that, because now he's telling them these are the rules of engagement, so they can choose to sign up for that or choose not to. And so I don't think it's, polyamorous is wrong and monogamy is right. I think it's what works for you, but are you being honest with yourself and the people involved? Are you making sure that everybody has a clear agreement on what the rules of engagement are? Are you manipulating them so that you can have your way, narcissistic? Or are you being open, transparent, and say, baby, for everybody? That's what makes a healthy relationship. It's not a one way to do it. It's, this is how we gonna do it, and can you sign up for this? And this is what it costs. Do you want to pay that price?
Okay, Bink.
All right, so
you said want to pay that price?
I done paid it. We'll pay it again, and we'll set up for the flex card, so I can pay every month.
You pay every month for the polygamy lifestyle, or for the monogamy lifestyle? What you paying for?
Well,
oh, shit.
I have to be politically correct, because this.
You got to be polygamy correct?
No. I'm gonna stay on the monogamy side.
Okay, so you're monogamy. You got to be not monogamously correct, not polygamy.
On air, I do, yes.